It's largely a mental game, and when you're doing everything by yourself, you start to make emotional decisions instead of what's good for the business, and very often that will eat up a lot of your time.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have a lot of companies that come in that same thought process, like they're just so niched down that they like, oh, I don't, or like, how do you get them
Yeah.
to open up to even
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm open to doing a general construction project
Yeah.
versus just a plumbing project or just an electrical project or just an HVAC project?
For sure. Yeah, I actually love that question. And I get small businesses that are wanting to incorporate some aspects of construction or even just light construction, but also other services as well. And there's really kind of a couple of different, e- I would call them, models. One, you can take an established business, and these for me are the hardest because when you have an established business, this is what we do. Okay, they've specialized, they become a specialist. Their specialization is what makes them stand out in the commercial marketplace. But then when you
Mhm.
come into the federal marketplace, as you said, as you had to learn, if you're just going to go super, super deep on doing one thing really, really well, you're not necessarily going to have all the opportunity that you would be looking for in the federal space, at least as you're trying to break in. I'm not saying over time, as you develop customers and relationships, you can't do that. You can do that. But when you're trying to break in, I always say that you don't want to double down or triple down on something that hasn't yet proven itself to you. But instead, one of the biggest mistakes that the established make when they come in, they're assuming the government is buying what they're doing in the commercial space exactly the same way. But the truth is, in the federal marketplace, the government buys things very differently in different quantities and different formats, et cetera. And so there's the immediate disruption of, whoa, hey, the federal marketplace is the biggest customer in the world. Why aren't I finding these? And then very quickly people get on the path of, I'm doing something wrong. I need to buy the fancy software. I need to get the better website. I need to get the CAPE statements. I need to do all these shiny object things when in reality, they're not realizing there was a changing in the rules. Nobody told them that, no, you don't need to be a specialist any longer. Okay, you don't need to be service focused. You need to be mission focused. Being mission focused means you are actually speaking the government's language and you see these opportunities as problems that you could potentially solve. And again, that's kind of how you back into building out an umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely that's exactly how you need to, position yourself. And it's so, and that statement of mission focus versus service focus is so important because even when you're in the contract, the mission is the mission. So when I'm doing a Navy project, the my mission and everybody that works in the Navy's mission is the Navy's mission.
That's
Right.
right.
And like you have to be super clear about it. And there was this one project we were doing down at the NRL down here in DC. And at the NRL, there's the Naval Research Laboratory. And a lot of the stuff that they do there helps keep our warfighters safe in combat. And one of the people that were running the project management side for the government was a military person. And he basically said that he's like, this place is near and dear to my heart because this place saved my life. The things that we create here actually saved me when I was on the battlefield. And it immediately there was a problem that was happening on the project. And it wasn't because of me and it wasn't because of that person, but it was just because of the whole environment in and around. But you could see immediately after he said that, the whole environment just got clear and we're just mission focused and we're going to get this thing figured out and everybody's going to come together to get this mechanical non-maintenance situation cleaned up and get it to the finish line. So I love that thought process and it's really true. Really
And,
is.
and it speaks to why the unthinkable can happen or what people who don't understand this or preach. There's certain dogmas in this industry that I'm very kind of at war with because I think it screws small businesses over. So I'm very much contested against that. But what you just said really speaks to the reason, being mission focused, why things like this could happen. So, for example, one of my recent client wins was he was replacing a floor, okay, in a government site, small flooring job. think it was 10, 20K. Okay. Nothing, very, very small, maybe a couple of days work, whatever. Required a little bit of had to get licensed for a week because there's a certain spec that they had to meet in terms of how they're putting it down. Whatever. 1 to 2 people, knock it out in a week. Okay. That was flooring. But then after they finished, the core, so the contracting officer representative on the contract had said, we've kind of had to give our work to the same, the small little group of companies over and over. Your guys came in, got this done. I had no issues. I've got an HVAC job that I need done. Now, this is what gets really interesting because HVAC has nothing to do with flooring. But if they were a specialist, right, or if they weren't in that opportunity, they're on the outside looking in, I need to be a specialist, right? Opportunities like that won't come up, or at the very least, they won't be open to them. But because, of course, my client is mission focused, he's not going to say anything but, yes, sir, send me the statement of work and I'll kind of, I'll send you a formal proposal, whatever, answer any questions you have, etc. And he'll find the right team, the right people or whatever to get it done as a true business owner, would. If you're not open to those sorts of things and realizing that that's how the federal space actually works, and having a bit of an umbrella approach, once again, where you're open to different NAICS codes and keywords, these should be fluid. These should grow and adapt with your business. If your business isn't growing, it's dying. This whole idea of get out a whiteboard, let's get all of our ducks in the row, like figure out the perfect strategy before you actually get out there and do anything is absolute nonsense. And it's built by people who want to sell you expensive, fancy software and all these things before you even want a contract. I say no, go get in the trenches. Don't be so niche, but also don't be so open. Have a plethora, have several focus areas, see what happens, double down, triple down on what works, build a relationship. You'll be amazed at what happens after that.